Hi people, I'm Joanna. I'm a registered migration agent and today's video is called Onshore or Offshore. When I say onshore or offshore, I'm talking about whether you lodge your application for an Australian partner visa onshore, physically onshore and present in Australia, or whether you lodge your application for an Australian partner visa while you're outside of Australia or offshore. People ask me this question often: which visa should I apply for? It's a good question. It feels like a big question. It's often phrased in terms of what's the best way to apply. Now, there's no one single right answer. The advice I give people as they make this decision is that the best way to apply is the way that best allows you to achieve your short and medium term goals and plans, and also allows you to achieve your longer term goal of securing your happy future together in Australia. Every couple is different. So the answer to the question is that the best visa to apply for is the visa that works best for you. I'm going to outline 5 common scenarios that impact the decision-making process of couples that I see commonly. Now, keep in mind that these are just general and you always need to seek advice that relates to your specific circumstances. So let's have a look. 5 common scenarios. The first is where we see a couple living happily together offshore. They maybe have jobs, kids, maybe they met while the Australian citizen or PR partner was working or living outside of Australia. Often couples in this situation have a long-term goal to live in Australia, maybe so their kids can go to school in Australia or they can spend their retirement years in Australia. But in the meantime, they're living happily together offshore and they don't really mind when they move to Australia. In this case, often I see couples choose to apply offshore. Now, the second scenario is when a couple are living happily together onshore. Maybe they met while the non-Australian citizen or PR partner was travelling, visiting or working in Australia on some sort of temporary visa. In this case, it makes a lot of sense to apply onshore. The visa applicant is able to access a bridging visa once their current visa expires. The bridging visa gives them full work rights and access to Medicare. The processing timeframes then don't matter too much because they're onshore with work rights. So, 2 scenarios so far: couple living onshore, couple living offshore. The third is where the couple are living happily or not so happily in different countries for whatever reason. One situation where we see this is when one partner is in a country where they work and another partner is in a country where their kids are at school. Another situation where we see this is if there's an imminent birth of a baby and the country where the baby is born will impact their citizenship options. In this case, we usually weigh up the options, look at the time frame and make a decision based on the couple's plans over the following months. Now, if the next 2 scenarios I'll talk about don't apply, in a situation like this, it sometimes doesn't matter too much whether they apply onshore or offshore. Now, the 4th scenario, a couple are living offshore and the non-Australian citizen or PR partner can't get a visa to Australia. This scenario happens when one of the visa applicants, for whatever reason, isn't able to meet the requirements for an Australian visitor visa or another Australian visa. It's just a reality that this happens sometimes. And if this is the case, then the couple don't really have the luxury of choice about where to lodge their application. If you can't get a visa to Australia, you can't apply for a partner visa onshore. You have to apply offshore and wait it out. It is what it is. I see couples make this work and it's so good to celebrate with them when their visas are granted. Now, the 5th scenario is when the non-Australian citizen or PR partner can visit Australia, but they can't apply for a partner visa onshore. This scenario happens when the partner visa applicant has been granted 1 or more visitor visas to Australia with the 8503 no further stay visa condition attached, and they're not able to lodge another application while they're onshore in Australia. Now, if this is the scenario, the option is to apply offshore. Again, it is what it is. We often see these partner visa applicants then travel to and from their country of residence to Australia holding visitor visas while their partner visa application is being processed. So, I've outlined 5 common scenarios, but there's also one change to keep in mind. There's been changes which mean partner visas can now be granted regardless of the location of the applicant at the time of the decision. It always struck me as an outdated requirement that the location where you were at the time of decision mattered. And it makes sense that the concession which came in during COVID is now permanent. While these changes are logical, keep in mind that the location of the applicant while it no longer impacts the grant of their visa, the location at the time of application does impact your bridging visa options. So, just to recap, I've outlined 5 common scenarios which impact whether a couple applies in Australia for an onshore partner visa or outside Australia for an offshore partner visa, and then we looked at one thing to keep in mind. Now, remember, these scenarios are just general, and your circumstances may be different to the scenarios I've outlined above. Always seek information and advice that's relevant for your specific circumstances. If I missed a scenario that you think is one I should talk about, comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye.